Hi everybody, welcome back to this week's Chasing Psychological Safety video series. This week we're wanting to talk to you about what appears to be one of the tricky stages of bringing psychological safety into your organisation, but in fact isn't. The stage that we're talking about is the awareness raising phase. So what usually happens with some of the big, meaty, important topics around teams, leadership, behaviours, culture and organisations is that people will first hear about a topic and it will start to be popularized in an organization and they'll get really, really excited. And in the case of psychological safety, what happens is that people really deeply resonate with the topic. It really means something to them. They recognize it as something that's been either low or high in the teams that they've worked in, and the relationship between that and the happiest and most high performing teams they've been in. And they think, great, we really need to know more about this. And that's the first awareness raising phase. So a course might be offered, emails might be sent around, people might get together in some of their steering groups and talking groups and really get into the topic a little bit, read the books, send around Amy Edmondson's questions and answer those manually. And then what happens? So we've now got a really nice level of awareness in the organization, but it's stalling because there is a next phase. So the good news is that if you see motivation and interest and excitement, that initial excitement dropping for the topic of psychological safety, it's not because people aren't interested, it's because they're ready to move on to the next phase. And the next phase is taking action. And the other good news is that it's actually not as difficult as you might think to make that lift, make that shift and get people to start properly understanding what they need to put in place to really bring psychological safety to life in their teams and get that high performance really moving.
What's really even more fascinating, if you wish, is the way that the topic of psychological safety even comes into being in the consciousness of any one enterprise. Many times it starts at the team level, and there's pockets of people here and there that first heard about the topic, in particular if they have something to do with the DevOps community, in particular if they've seen the conversation that's happening around culture in the Agile community and so on. So they would understand it, bring it in and start spreading that until such a time that it catches the eye of an exec here and there. And then, as Fionn described it, this cycle of awareness takes hold at a more enterprisey level, if you wish. What we find oftentimes is that if people are stuck in this awareness vicious circle, if you wish, in this continuous awareness, never-ending awareness building cycle, if you wish, they very rarely are stuck in that cycle at the team level. It's when it becomes an organizational level awareness building exercise that the being stuck may occur. And what happens there really is to do with our very many tens of years of doing business in a certain fashion. So it's part of the same human debt legacy or issues we're having, not really a legacy. A legacy is too good of a word to apply to something like human debt. But if you look at the history we have in enterprises where you have this culture of command and control, and you have this culture of organizational level programs being funneled down, and then you have this culture of learning about things and then attempting to translate them into change, but in a clunky sort of fashion. All of those things line up for it to become an academic only exercise. So it's not shocking that many places get stuck in this continuous awareness building cycle. It's comfortable. We've done these programs many times before where we just learn about something. We've done these theoretical conversations that remain fluffy long enough. We know where to procure them from. We know how to organize them. And it's less taxing for us as humans, whether we're in HR, in leadership, or at the team level, to be doing just the awareness, right? So it is, if you wish, a massive procrastination method. And as Fionn says, there has got to be a next phase. And the next phase, in this case, is just very clear. If all the other conversations could remain unclear because there were no exact to-dos, if you could start the conversation on D&I that never really ended up being anything, if you could crack open the really thorny topics of culture, whether it's about human culture or societal norms and so on, and then kind of remain with it floaty, that would be fine. But in this case, in this particular case, once you crack open the conversation on psychological safety, that is a set of behaviors at the team level. And there are things, very clear, very punctual, very efficient things you can do about it. So it feels very unnatural both for the organization and the team to stop at the level of the awareness. So everyone we talk to does know in their heart of hearts that if what they're doing is more awareness acquiring, then that's kind of worthless long term. They know that. But the difficulty is obviously, one, getting over the habit, and two, finding out what to do next. So the number one thing we're saying you can do, and you can do it today, is do away with the noise and reduce psychological safety to the big themes of it. What is it? Why is it good for you as a team? Why is it good for you as an organization? What are the good behaviors of psychological safety? What are the bad behaviors of psychological safety? And what are some of the things that we can put in place so we start tackling those behaviors at the team level? It is that simple. Any one of you reading and or listening to this can build this deck today. Literally, if you start now, by the end of your working day, you will have a worthwhile 8 to 10 pages deck. You do not need McKinsey to come sell it to you for £1 million. You don't need some boutique consultancy telling you that you don't quite comprehend it at a molecular level. You comprehend it just as well as everyone else. Clarify the topic, boil it down to the components that are truly making the meat of it, and then bring it back to transforming it into action.
And once you've done that, which you can do, you will need a tool at some stage, in the same way that once organizations really embed conversations around culture, leadership, engagement, the really big, important topics for people and for reducing human debt in organizations when they're done well, you'll need a tool for teams and for psychological safety as well. So come and talk to us. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to show you what we've got. And if you can't, if you're not at that stage yet, do what Dwayne has just been talking about, and it'll get you into that interim, that in the middle stage as well. So hopefully we will speak to you, but if not, good luck with your teams.